Hello everyone, it's Sagrannus back once more with World of Warships, and we're heading into the end of the year. So, what's going to be happening with the channel for the rest of the month? Well, probably not a whole lot. Obviously, releases of games are slowing, so demo impressions may slow a little bit. And a few other changes in my personal situation mean I won't necessarily be able to be as regular with videos as I have been to date. Obviously, I will try to get videos up when I can, but certainly for the 2 or 3 weeks after what's next week, 14th of December, it is unlikely you'll see any content at all on the channel. You will still be getting blogs and things, and perhaps reviews depending, but you're not going to be seeing anything really coming up on the channel as I take some personal time for myself. So we're going to continue on today anyway with our campaign to do well in destroyers, in the hope that means we'll be able to unlock the kamikaze and see what it's like. Of course, with our usual strike rate, might not happen, but fingers crossed that something will occur. So in other exciting news, I've had the wonderful opportunity to get my hands on Just Cause 3. But prior to getting it, I actually did have a look at a lot of the commentaries by notable games critics and things like that, just to see what they thought. Obviously, people whose opinions I respect, not the big companies, but individuals mostly here on YouTube. And one of the complaints I saw was that it was suffering from a lot of the open worldiness, and to a degree, I believe that's true. Total Biscuit, for example, said that along with that, he felt like there wasn't enough of an improvement, enough of a change from 2 to 3. And while I see where he's coming from, I'm not sure I entirely agree. Because what Just Cause 3 feels like to me is, in a way, it sort of reminds me of what Assassin's Creed Brotherhood was to Assassin's Creed 2. What it is it takes the same concept, the same premise, and shows that they've learned from it. Shows that they've adapted things. Things have, in my opinion, broadly speaking, improved in Just Cause 3 Brotherhood 2. The vehicle elements are so much better. Vehicles drive properly, helicopters drive better. Combat itself is better. I find that the new tethering system is an improvement. The way grapples work is mostly much better. Now, people's flinched about the destructibility of the environment not being good enough. I'd argue that it's on par, if not better than that of the previous game. Yes, I think the problem people are facing is that Just Cause 3 isn't a big enough step up from 2 in comparison to how 2 was to 1. So that makes it a little bit more difficult perhaps for them. But what I would say is that we have to take 2 games that, for me this year, that have probably exceeded my expectations, are Just Cause 3 and The Witcher 3. Because while they may not have massively stepped things up, I'd argue that Witcher 3 did, what they have done is prove that they understand the community, prove that they understand what needs to be done to continue the franchise. Many other AAA games certainly didn't succeed. So with that, Fallout 4 being among them, Fallout 4 was quite a disappointment for me, if I'm honest. Especially in comparison to the other 2 big releases for me this year, being Just Cause 3 and Witcher 3. And I think the thing is that sometimes it's better to ask for refinement than innovation. And I know that might sound a bit odd coming from me, because often I want to see innovation, I want to see change, but I think that sometimes refinement is what's needed. Because if you just go all out and try to introduce millions of new concepts, and they all come up half-baked with bugs, glitches, problems, usability issues, etc., then you have the issue that what you might have innovated, but what you've really still produced is a subpar, unpolished product. Whereas if you can take what you learnt previously and work on that, go further, step it up, and improve and refine it, then I think you've done a good job. And that, for me, is what Avalanche did in Just Cause 3. Nope, not having that.
Torpedoes to port.
And I think that's important to remember, that new is not necessarily always better. Sometimes innovation for the sake of innovation can be harmful. And I am about to sink horribly, I suspect. We'll see. Come on. And, yeah, in my personal opinion, Just Cause 3 is a solid game. There are things that bother me. At the moment, on my system, the performance is not exactly brilliant. Obviously, my system is slightly below the recommended specs, and they do have very high recommended specs. Fair enough, and I know that's probably bothering a lot of people because those are very high specs for a game, and it doesn't run smoothly if you're even slightly below them. And I get that is frustrating. But what they've tried to achieve is a very big open world. It's very smooth, amazing graphics and amazing physics. And so I guess they weighed up their options and decided it was worth the risk there. And in my opinion, that's better than what Bethesda did with Fallout, in that it's like, yes, you've made some things look better, but ultimately it's still the creation engine, and it still, in my opinion, looks dated. It looked dated when Skyrim came out, it looked dated when Fallout 3 came out, and it still feels behind everyone else. Whereas Avalanche have tried to really push the boat out with their graphics. And yes, it's taxing on current systems. And yes, it's probably not particularly well optimized at present, but it's probably going to be, and I think that's worth the wait. I'm feeling like I'm being very conservative at present. It's probably going to upset some people, but tough. That's my opinion at the moment. Witcher 3 was also quite taxing, but it's still a much loved game. I'm going to sink. I'm going to die. Oh, I'm not going to die. That's new. Oh, no, I died. But yeah, I did hit him there. Did I get to? No, unfortunately not. So we're going to jump into another destroyer, and I'll continue rambling about the games of this year, just in case this is, because there is a chance that this will be the last video for the year. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We'll take out the Minikaze, I think. Try and do that. And yeah, Witcher 3, I think, if I was to pick a game of the year, would have to be mine. Because it has a few things that other open world games don't have. Yes, it has all the side quests, but it still managed to hold the sense of wonderment. It wore off slowly, and the sense of exploration, which wore off slowly, but they held on so much longer than anything else I've seen in open world games in a long time. I think it captured the spirit of the world a lot better, and the narrative, for the majority of the time, was probably the best I've seen in a game for a long time, at least an open world game. Because you can't compare it, the narrative of Just Cause 3. You just can't. Just Cause's narratives have always been a bit silly. They're very action-filmy, so they're not necessarily the most logical. But Witcher 3's was a very good narrative. Fallout 4's was not. I defy anyone to explain how Fallout 4's narrative was good. My problem with Bethesda has been that since Oblivion, they have not written a central narrative that is compelling. Of all of the narratives in Skyrim, for example, I'd say that the main plot was the one I cared least about and seemed the most far-fetched. I replayed the main story of Oblivion 10, 11 times, and I'm not a huge game replayer. Whereas Fallout 3, I played through once, Skyrim, I played through once, because the failing was that some of the most compelling stuff was in Skyrim was in fact the side quests, the guild quests, things like that, which were also apparently as pressing. I mean, the problem with Skyrim was, yes, you had the dragon as, you know, the end of the world somehow. It didn't really explain why it was the end of the world, given that you can kill dragons, but anyway.
Engine boost
But
activated.
you know, the Thieves Guild had end of world, Mages Guild had end of world, the Companions was a pretty serious one, not end of world though, and the Assassins, the Brotherhood, the Dark Brotherhood, were assassinating the Emperor, so they were all more compelling and often better written. Fallout 3's was pretty meh, and Fallout 4's in some ways is simply an inversion of that. You're not a child looking for your father, you're a father or a mother looking for your child, and that's, yeah. I also found Fallout 4 ridiculously front-loaded. If you recall the E3 video, the big announcement video, almost everything you see in that, I think, occurs in the first hour to 2 hours, depending on how quickly you play. Now, it'd be a bit conspiracy theorist of me to say that the front-loading is because of Steam refunds, but it certainly was to their advantage to make sure that there was all of that special content early, given Steam refunds, which, as you may be aware, if you've played more than 2 hours, you don't get to refund the game. Conveniently, Fallout 4 can hold your attention for easily paid the first 2 or 4 hours. I've got about 40 hours on the game, but I haven't touched it in a week. It bores me to tears. It feels like another cookie cutter Bethesda game, and it still suffers from the same problem that I've had with a lot of the Bethesda games. I've had a problem with both Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, in that it's not compelling. It doesn't feel like a Fallout game, and that really worries me. They just haven't been able to capture. Exactly, it's the sense. They haven't been able to capture the spirit of Fallout, in my opinion. So I don't know why it is or what it is. I think it just feels like Elder Scrolls sci-fi. So the Fallout Elder Scrolls skin. New Vegas, on the other hand, was far superior in my mind and did feel like I don't know if it's, it felt like a Fallout game. That's because some of the original Fallout 2 team were there, working on it, and it was using the ideas for the original Fallout 3, Van Buren, if you're aware of it, Caesar's Legion, NCR, all of that, with some tweaks, obviously. So I've sort of gone on a tangent. Basically, the cut thrust is this. There are things I like in Fallout 4. I love the way they've changed power armor. Power armor is now a much more interesting thing. It's not just another thing to wear. It actually has its own limitations and things. But at the same time, it's suffering from the fact that it tries to tick boxes. Oh, you need crafting. Oh, you need to be able to build a settlement. Oh, you need this and that. And that is sad. In my honest opinion, that's really disappointing. Because I love open world games, but oh, for God's sake. But it suffers, Fallout 4 for me suffers from the same thing that Dragon Age Inquisition was criticised for. That it felt like an MMO without the multiplayer advantages. And she's going to go down. So I better start wrapping things up a little bit. So, basically, yeah, I think Fallout 4 also suffered from its hype, as well as a number of other things, including the fact that it's just another Bethesda game, and no matter how hard or long you work for it, they're still falling into all of the same pitfalls that they always have, and it's starting to feel more grindy, and it's lacking a lot of depth as well. Fallout 3 had more depth than 4, and that really bugs me, that the fact that we seem to be, unfortunately, aiming at the lowest common denominator and aiming for sales, and you know, that's a shame. The Fallout series originally was not a mainstream series. It was quite niche, not niche, niche. And so, yeah, I feel like perhaps the industry needs to take a step back and look at that fundamental question: is a game a work of art? Because that's answering that question and deciding where you stand on that is going to affect what sort of games you produce. If you don't believe in art, if you believe it's just a product to be sold, then you're going to go down the AAA path, Call of Duty's, yearly installments of Assassin's Creed, all of that crap. If you believe it's art, hopefully you'll continue to go down the path of people like CD Projekt Red and a lot of the smaller indie developers who are producing something they think is fun and meaningful. And I don't have problems with games having messages. I just have a problem when they force that message down your throat in as politically correct a way as possible. Bioware. So, I've been Sagrannus. This has been me failing at Destroyers again in World of Warships. If I don't speak to you again before the new year, hope you have a enjoyable summer solstice, Christmas, whatever you want to call it, and have a fantastic new year. If I do get more videos up, I will definitely do so, but we'll see how we go. Anyway, thanks for your support this year, for the last nearly 6 months, I guess. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe. If you don't like, dislike, feel free to comment below. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about the actual games this year. Tell me how you feel the industry's going. Just, yeah, put your thoughts down. Have a bit of a discussion. It's always good to talk about these things. I'm not a huge channel. It's not like anyone's watching me over my shoulder to find out what I think or what that you think, but sometimes discussion is a good thing to have, and I'd definitely be interested in seeing what people think about the direction, especially of the big AAA productions. Don't just hate on them, be constructive. You know, why don't you like them? Why do you like them? What they're doing right? What they're doing wrong? How do you feel about Fallout 4? How do you feel about whatever else is on your mind? Tell me what you think about the high performance standards of Just Cause versus other games, etc., etc. Do you think Witcher 3 deserves the praise it's got? I certainly do, but if you disagree, have a chat about it. Alright guys, I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.